Prior to 7000 BCE, in terms of cuisine, India has received little to no influence from the outside world. Eggplant and sesame are some of the primary crops consumed, as well as domestication of humped cattle. Between 7000 BCE and the 19th century, India has primarily adopted the Hindu religion, or some variant, and its associated set of practices. In terms of diet, this has meant a reduced consumption of meat or animal products depending on the style of religion in practice. The notion of good and bad karma is a primary driving force in such food choices. Between 538 BCE and the 16th century, a number of invasions occurred. This has meant the introduction of such foods as apricots, melons, peaches, plums, and other gravies. This also meant the introduction of the biryani dishes consisting of yogurt, rice, onion, or goat. Voluntary trading between Arab and Portuguese nations introduced exotic foods such as tomato, chili, squash, and potato. More recent colonial influence from countries such as France, England, and Denmark didn't add too many foods, but rather enhanced the cooking styles and methods of the already present foods. Lentils, chickpeas, rices, and flours are some staples in Indian cuisine. Chili powder, bay leaves, turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon are also some of the herbs and spices most noticeably tasted in Indian cuisines. Clay ovens are also used as a cooking method for various breads and slow-cooked meat dishes. Traditional cooking oils such as peanut, coconut, and ghee were used several decades ago, whereas current sunflower and safflower oils are used today. Northern regions focus on Kashmiri cuisine. These are mostly rice-based dishes and offer several saag varieties, which are chopped leafy green curries. The south utilizes fishes due to their coastal proximity. They are also famous for the puttu dish. The eastern region is known for its hilsa style of preparation, whereas the west is popular for dal and akas, which are pickled relish and vegetables due to the relatively reduced availability of crops. Cereal grains, as well as alcoholic beverages, were identified as some of Australia's biggest imports. On the other hand, soybean oil, palm oil, pulses, and tree nuts were identified as some of India's biggest imports. One possible reason for the large import of these processed oils may be due to the inclusion of soybean and palm oil in the preparation for various curries and dishes. Top export commodities for India include bovine meats and rice, whereas top exporters for Australia are wheat and bovine meat. This makes sense for both countries, as these products are well suited to the agricultural environment and ecology of the countries. Rice has been a staple in India for centuries, therefore one would assume that the rice is well suited to the environment and India can produce a lot. The graph displayed on top is the distribution of Australia's average household food expenditure. In recent years, for example 2009 to 10, Australian households have spent more money on meals out and fast foods. This will be interesting in exploring how Indian cuisine has become more exposed and prevalent in Australian culture. The graph below shows that Australians eat more fruits and vegetables on average, and Indians eat more pulses such as legumes. Indian immigrants have been moving to Australia since as early as the 18th and 19th century as servants or convicts. Legal migration for Indians seeking work boomed in the 19th century as India became a British colony. For example, India has been in the top 10 countries of the overseas-born population in Australia in the 1901, 1911, 1921, 1947, and more recently, the 2001 and 2006 census. The exposure and subsequent expansion of Indian cuisine can be attributed to a number of factors. Various social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest have allowed for large-scale viewing and sharing of cooking methods, recipes, and food items. Business marketing, paired with the use of social media, has further expedited the exposure and increased consumption of Indian cuisine. As mentioned in the previous graph, distribution of Australia's average household food expenditure, the category meals out and fast foods has seen a recent increase in the years 2009 and 2010. This has meant the supply and demand of Indian foods and restaurants has increased. Indian food itself is also quite practical for Australians in that it's rice-based, meaning it's inexpensive, highly palatable, meaning it's salty and fatty, and easily adjusted for dietary needs, so for vegetarians, vegans, and those with celiac disease. The growing presence and cultural implications of Indian cuisine within Australia is evident. Fast food chains are growing in number and variety, for example Miss India, Moti Mahal, and Sitar Express. Not to mention the options available on menus at many restaurants has changed. As mentioned on the previous slide, the effects of supply and demand have meant that vegetarian and vegan options are available in various settings such as supermarkets, fast foods, restaurants, and cafes. Although not causality, the graph in the bottom left-hand corner shows the rise in rice consumption rates within Australia. Coincidentally, this somewhat coincides with the migration rates and their years of Indians to Australia.